Hey YouTube, what is up? I've been playing Blue Eyes White Dragon for a while now, but I haven't done an update of the deck since before the Dark Illusion came out, and we've had a ban list since then, so I figured it's time to do an update of this deck. Now, I haven't changed this deck since the ban list came out, but I haven't shown the changes I made after the Dark Illusion, so this is going to be a combination between the two. Before the ban list came out, I was actually going 4-0 pretty easily with this deck. Not to say that my competition wasn't hard, but I was actually getting the combos I needed. My deck wasn't bricking or anything like that. It was actually running very well, so I think this is actually a pretty solid build. I play 3 Blue Eyes White Dragon just because it's staple in the deck. You can't run any less than that. You really need it in your hand. And the only reason you really need it in your hand is for Blue Eyes Alternative White Dragon, which you also run 3 of. It just helps the deck so much. It kind of sucks that its effect's now the quick effect, but, you know, what can you do? With Dark Destroyer still being at 1 in this format, it's still technically the better Blue Eyes alternative, but in our archetype specifically, this is probably one of the better monsters you can bring out turn 1. I mean, it kind of sucks if you don't have anything to pop, but it's always a good card to bring out. A free special summon without doing anything but revealing its cost is always good in my book. I run 2 Dragon Spirit of White as well. 3 is too much, it clogs too much with that. If you get this card to your hand, you pretty much guarantee you brick. It's pretty useless in hand unless you can ditch it with something like Melody of the Awakening Dragon or Twin Twister. It really doesn't serve that much of a purpose in your hand, so you really want it only in your deck or in your graveyard, and you want to put it there yourself pretty much. So I like to run 2 because that allows me to pop a lot of back row on my opponent's side, but it also stops me from bricking as much. I do occasionally draw it still, but I'd rather run 2 and draw 1 than draw 1 and have none in my deck. And now for the vast array of level 1 light tuners I play 1 Whitestone of Legend. It's a staple 1-of in the deck. It adds Blue Eyes White Dragon to your hand. If it's sent to the graveyard, you can discard it off a Twin Twister, and you get Blue Eyes White Dragon to hand, never losing hand advantage. If you throw this card to the graveyard with cards of consonance, you can actually go very, very plus, because you draw 2 and then add a Blue Eyes to your hand as well. So you technically actually go +1 off of cards of consonance if you can ditch this card. Obviously, that doesn't happen very often because you only run 1 of them, but if you normal summon the Sage and add this to your hand, then use cards of consonance, you can get some pretty good plays off. I then run 3 Whitestone of Ancients because special summoning Dragon Spirit of White on my end phase is such a good play. I don't think there's any other reason to run Whitestone of Ancients besides just getting this card out to your field. It is so amazing to just ditch this and then get a monster in your end phase. If you can send this card to the graveyard on your opponent's turn somehow with something like Twin Twister, and then you special summon this on their end phase and pop their back row because they don't have a chance to flip it because they just said it that turn, your opponent's going to get a little salty. It's a really good play. I really enjoy 3 Whitestone of Ancients. I wouldn't run 2 of them. I've seen some different decks running only 2 of them than 3 Sage, but I think 3 is perfect because you can ditch it very easily from hand, and it's actually pretty useful as well because you can use it as a tuner, so it's not a dead draw like Dragon Spirit of White is. I then run 3 Sage with Eyes of Blue because this card is absolutely amazing and allows you to basically go into Crystal Wing turn 1 as long as you can guarantee that his effect goes off and you can special summon any level 8 dragon to your side of the field. You can guarantee that you're basically going to get a Crystal Wing because you just bring out Ancient Fairy and use Ancient Fairy's effect to special summon the stone you added to your hand with Sage, or even if you want to add Effect Veiler to your hand, you could do that, then special summon it with Ancient Fairy Dragon, and then you can make Crystal Wing. So there's a lot of plays you can do. I really like Sage. I do like running the Ancient Fairy Crystal Wing combo. Some people don't run Ancient Fairy in their extra deck, but a Crystal Wing turn 1 against certain decks is a death sentence, so I like to run that as well. And now for the rest of my lower level monsters, I run 1 Effect Veiler because it is searchable with 3 Sage, so essentially I'm running a way to search it. I only have to normal summon the Sage to get Effect Veiler to hand, and then I can just keep it there for the rest of the duel if I wanted to, making my opponent know that I have an ability to stop any of their monster effects at any time. Actually is a pretty decent mind game. I then run 2 Max C because you can't run 3, but 2 is perfect in this deck. A lot of decks this format special summon. I can't think of one deck that gets basically out of special summoning besides maybe like Klee Demise, but Max C is pretty much useful in every other matchup besides that, so I like to main deck it. There's no reason not to. And then for my tech that has made my Blue Eyes deck the bane of every Cosmo player's existence and anybody that runs Light and Dark pretty much, I main deck 2 Kaikimura Drago. If that's how it's pronounced, I don't know. It's a weird pronunciation. I'm trying to get ulti versions because they think they look so good, but this card is absolutely amazing. I can actually bring this out off of Ancient Fairy Dragon, so it actually works really, really well in tandem with a couple of different plays that I have. I can pop my opponent's Cosmo Town with Ancient Fairy Dragon, special summon Kaikimura Drago, and then they can't tag out. So they just basically lost their Cosmo Town and their search did nothing. It's actually a really, really good play. If you didn't know what Kaikimura Drago does, it locks you out of special summoning light or dark monsters, both you and your opponent, and all you have to do to keep it on the field is reveal a dragon in your hand. So that is actually very, very easy to do in this deck. You can special summon Blue Eyes Alternative White, then normal summon Kaikimura Drago, and just reveal the Blue Eyes that you had in your hand to summon the alternative continuously, and your opponent can't get over your 3k beat stick, and he's a 1900 monster as well, so he's pretty big. Not many cards can be normal summoned and can get over him, so it actually is an out to a lot of decks. sucks. It makes Cosmo cry because they can't tag out. They banish their monsters as cost. They don't get the summon. It doesn't matter if their card resolves in the banished zone because you can't special summon light or dark. So it is basically a perpetual Vanity's Emptiness for only light and dark monsters, and in the Blue Eyes mirror match, this pretty much wrecks. There is nothing that can get rid of that card really easily unless your opponent main decks Raigeki. So it just leads to a lot of lockouts, and it's a really quick way to make easy work of a lot of decks. You can actually even get over it yourself if you want to set up an OTK on your opponent. All you'd have to do is, after the turn you normal summon this, set one of the stones, one of the sages, or even Max C if you really wanted to, and the next turn just tribute both of them to summon a Blue Eyes because you can do that. And then you can special summon as much as you want. You can soul charge for days. You can go Return of the Dragon Lord or Silver's Cry. It's really easy to get rid of. All you have to do is tribute it, and it just locks your opponent out really hard, and that's why I love it. And now for the spells in this deck that I feel are integral to letting it run. I run 3 Melody of the Awakening Dragon and 2 Dragon Shrine. I've seen people play 1 Dragon Shrine. I think 2 is the golden formula. For me, it works best. Melody of the Awakening Dragon is an amazing card because if you ever have a dead card in your hand, all you have to do is ditch it with Melody of the Awakening Dragon, and then you get to add 2 monsters from your deck with 3,000 or more attack and 2,500 or less defense. You can add Blue Eyes White Dragon and Blue Eyes Alternative Dragon to your hand just by using this card to ditch any other card. You can use it to ditch the stones to get the stones effect in the graveyard, and if you do that, you can actually choose to just add the Blue Eyes White Dragon to your hand from the stone, and then use Awakening Dragon to add 2 alternative dragons to your hand, because not many people realize that, but you can just add 2 alternatives if you really wanted to. And Dragon Shrine I love because it allows me to put my Dragon Spirit of White in the graveyard, and when Dragon Spirit of White goes to the graveyard, it's technically counted as a normal monster, so I then get to send one of the stones as well. I can send White Stone of Ancients to set up my end phase plays. I can send White Stone of Ancients to add any other card I wanted to my hand if I really wanted to. If I have an alternative in hand and it's dead, and I need to get a Blue Eyes to my hand, I can send Blue Eyes White Dragon from my deck to the grave, then send White Stone of Ancients from my deck to the grave on top of that thanks to Dragon Shrine, banish the White Stone of Ancients, add the Blue Eyes to hand, and then special summon the alternative. It allows you to unbrick, and it allows you to start your engine up by getting cards to the graveyard that you want in the graveyard. And what would Blue Eyes be without insane amounts of draw power? In this deck, I run 3 Trade-In because it's amazing at putting your cards in the graveyard to set up plays. I've used Trade-In to send Blue Eyes White Dragon to the graveyard, then drew into Silver's Cry or Return of the Dragon Lords, and then just brought it back for pretty much free. So this card just sets you up so well. You can use Trade-In to get rid of the Dragon Spirit of Whites that you happen to draw. It's a good way to get good cards in your graveyard, and it's a good way to draw into your engine. I then run 2 Pot of Desires. I had 3 of these. I actually sold the 3rd one. I don't like 3 in the deck. I've actually drawn into Pot of Desires off of Pot of Desires too many times with 3 in my deck. So I feel like 2 is the golden ratio to run. Plus, if you actually happen to draw 2 of these, you're going to be banishing 20 cards if you actually want to use their effect, and that's pretty much most of your engine. If you use 1 Pot of Desires a game, it's great because you go +1, but it's pretty tough to actually use 2 of them in a game without pretty much destroying your deck. So I like to run 2 so that I see it, but I don't actually like to use 2. A thing that I have done, though, in the past is I've drawn into this as well as Cards of Consonance and White Stone of Legend, and I've used Cards of Consonance to discard White Stone, and then I ended up going +1, and then I sent Pot of Desires to the graveyard, activate its effect, and then I went +1 again. So I essentially started turn 1 with 7 cards in hand, which is actually a pretty good thing to have happen. And then for the rest of my draw cards, I play 1 Cards of Consonance to get my level 1 Light Tuner Dragon Eggs to the graveyard, and I play 1 Upstart Goblin. It's a great card to use just to draw through my deck. It makes my deck a little more consistent, and if I don't want to actually use its effect, I can ditch it with essentially Melody of the Awakening Dragon to add 2 Blue Eyes to my hand. And another staple of the Blue Eyes deck besides drawing a shit ton is Revival. I play 3 Return of the Dragon Lords, 2 Silver's Cry, and 1 Soul Charge. Silver's Cry I feel like is good at 2. It's not that great. Return of the Dragon Lords is a little better because Silver's Cry actually forces you to special summon a normal monster from your graveyard, so you can't use it to bring back alternative. Return of the Dragon Lords you can bring back alternative. You can also even bring back Crystal Wing if you really wanted to. Soul Charge is amazing. If you draw this turn 1, you can pretty much build a lockout board that your opponent can't get out of. And also, Return of the Dragon Lords graveyard effect is too good not to use 3 of. You can basically banish this card from your graveyard and protect dragons on your field from being destroyed. If your opponent uses Raigeki or Dark Hole, you can just banish this and save every monster on your side of the field. Too broken not to use. And then for the Blue Eyes mirror match, the one trap most Blue Eyes do main is Vanity's Emptiness. Now, yes, Vanity's Emptiness is hard to get out of for Blue Eyes, but the way I get out of it is by running 1 Twin Twister. It's not the ideal situation. Not many people actually use Vanities as format, but Blue Eyes tends to main deck it, so you gotta main deck at least 1 out in case you don't have the Silver's Cry set when your opponent activates Vanity's Emptiness. That's your only out, so unless you can destroy one of their monsters or something like that, you're pretty much screwed. Vanity's Emptiness hurts a lot, and that's why I main deck 1 Twin Twister. And now onto my extra deck. I play 1 Primal Groudon, EX, just my token. I then run one Cloud Castle because not many people expect me to bring this card out. It's a Synchro monster. Once you bring this card out, you can basically special summon any level 9 Synchro from your graveyard. If you really wanted to, you can bring out the Azure Silver Dragon and stuff like that, or you can bring out Spirit Dragon. It's a great card, 3000 defense, and any monster that is level 8 or lower this turn, they can't attack. You can use this against Cosmo. If they bring out the Dark Destroyer and pop this card, Dark Destroyer still can't attack that turn, so it can protect you, and you still get to bring out any level 9 Synchro you have in your graveyard, which is a really, really good play. Obviously, though, you can't tag out the Spirit Dragon that you bring back with this effect, but either way, you get to have a Spirit Dragon on field for the graveyard negations. I then play 2 Spirit Dragon because I can access every single Light Synchro Dragon in the game, and that's too broken to pass up on. I then run 2 Azure Silver Dragon because it's my protection against Raigeki or Dark Hole. Usually I'll make this, and then on my opponent's standby phase, I'll tag out into that so that it can't be targeted or destroyed by card effects. This card is amazing as well because it prevents pendulum summonings or summoning 2 or more monsters at once, though that isn't really relevant this format. The only deck that I think still does that, because pendulums is pretty much dead, the only deck that I think does that still would be Break Sword, but usually if they're Break Swording, they're going to pop your Spirit Dragon, so you'd have to tag out anyway, so you really don't get to prevent that effect, but it does have the effect to prevent 2 or more monsters from being summoned at once. And then for my targets that I summon with Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon, I play 1 Black Rose Moonlight, I play 1 Stardust Spark. This card is amazing when you use it in tandem with Vanity's Emptiness. You can protect your Vanities or protect Stardust Spark, and then your opponent can't really get out of that lock, and there's nothing they can do. Obviously, if they have like a Blue Eyes on field, they can just crash over Spark. Then you just protect Spark. If they have Twin Twister, you use Spark to protect Vanity's Emptiness, and so on. Most decks really can't get out of a Vanity's lock turn 1, and then you combo with Stardust Spark's ability to protect the card once that turn. It's actually hard for them to get out of because they have to destroy it twice somehow to essentially get rid of it. I then also run 1 Ancient Fairy for the combo I described before to bring out Crystal Wing. Crystal Wing is absolutely broken in this deck. It's amazing in the Cosmo matchup. It's pretty good in the BA matchup as well. This really does wreck though against Blue Eyes. Crystal Wing is great. Swing into a Blue Eyes monster and they just take 3k direct. Your opponent tries to pop it with something like Alternative, it gains 3000 attack, and then you attack them for technically 6000 damage. It's too broken not to use. And then for the XYZ monsters I play, I use 1 Alcai, the Sylvan High Protector. This card is great because it's a good card for the Blue Eyes Mirror match. It's 3200 defense. It's a good way to basically stop your opponent from playing the game. If you don't know what this card's effect is, you mill the top card of your deck, you intentionally call it wrong, and then you put 1 card on your opponent's side of the field. It does target on top or bottom of their deck. You can literally force your opponent to brick for 2 turns in a row, and then you just keep swinging over them on top of that. So I really do like this card, and it's amazing in the Blue Eyes Mirror match. I then run also 1 Hope Harbinger Titanic Galaxy for that sweet, sweet spell negation, and its other effect, where most people don't know it, is if your opponent targets your monster for an attack, you can force them to target this monster for the attack and continue the attack, so you can force your opponent to kill their own monster. I also run 1 Galaxy Eyes Tachyon Dragon because I think it's better than Prime Photon. If you know your opponent's going to get battle phase monster effects off, this card just gets so much more attack, it's ridiculous. If you kill a Dante with this card, it's going to become a 5000 beat stick that can then attack again, which is too good to pass up. I run Galaxy Eyes Cypher as well to basically steal my opponent's problem cards, put it on my side of the field, then overlay Prime Photon Dragon on top of that, pop one of their monsters, and then go Dark Matter on top of that, forcing them to banish 3 cards from their deck. Galaxy Eyes Cypher, if you didn't know, is from the new set, and it's absolutely broken. You target one of your opponent's monsters, take it, and its name becomes Galaxy Eyes Cypher, so you can put any Galaxy Eyes monster on top of that you wanted, and just go for game. Though the one stipulation is only Cypher can attack directly that turn, but if your opponent has face-up attack position monsters that are pretty weak, Dark Matter can attack twice on monsters, and 4k really does hurt. Anyway, that's it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you liked it, don't forget to follow me on Twitter @Schwabs or like my Facebook page. Links to those are down below. And if you really enjoyed it, don't forget to click subscribe because it's free, it's fun, and I'll see you guys in the next one.